The 1960s Counterculture and the Hippie Movement. The 1960s counterculture and the hippie movement represented a seismic shift in American society, challenging conventional norms and advocating for peace, love, and social change. Emerging against the backdrop of social upheaval, political dissent, and cultural revolution, the counterculture of the 1960s reshaped the landscape of American identity and consciousness. In this video, we explore the origins, ideals, and legacy of the 1960s counterculture and the hippie movement, examining their lasting impact on society and popular culture. The roots of the 1960s counterculture can be traced to a confluence of social, political, and cultural factors, including the civil rights movement, opposition to the Vietnam War, and disillusionment with traditional institutions. Influenced by Beat Generation writers like Jack Kerouac and Allen Ginsberg, the counterculture rejected mainstream values and embraced alternative lifestyles based on communal living, artistic expression, and spiritual exploration. The hippie movement, characterized by its rejection of materialism, embrace of nonconformity, and celebration of peace and love, became the defining expression of the 1960s counterculture. Inspired by ideals of freedom, creativity, and social justice, hippies sought to create a more egalitarian and harmonious society, challenging prevailing notions of authority and consumer culture. The 1960s counterculture found expression in various cultural forms, including music, literature, art, and fashion. The psychedelic rock music of bands like the Beatles, Jefferson Airplane, and Jimi Hendrix served as a sonic backdrop to the era, reflecting themes of liberation, experimentation, and spiritual awakening. Literature and art, influenced by Eastern mysticism, surrealism, and psychedelic experiences, explored themes of consciousness, expansion, and social critique. Central to the hippie ethos was the idea of communal living and alternative lifestyles. Hippie communes, or intentional communities, emerged as experiments in collective living, sharing resources and pursuing self-sufficiency. Rejecting conventional notions of success and status, hippies embraced simplicity, environmentalism, and a back-to-the-land ethos, seeking to live in harmony with nature and each other. Despite its utopian ideals, the hippie movement faced criticism and challenges, including accusations of naivete, escapism, and impracticality. Critics questioned the effectiveness of countercultural activism and the sustainability of communal living arrangements, while authorities viewed hippie gatherings and protests with suspicion, often resorting to repression and surveillance. The legacy of the 1960s counterculture and the hippie movement endures as a cultural touchstone and a symbol of resistance and rebellion. Its ideals of peace, love, and social justice continue to inspire movements for environmentalism, civil rights, gender equality, and LGBTQ rights. The counterculture's emphasis on individual freedom, creativity, and community has left an indelible imprint on American society and popular culture, shaping attitudes toward authority, consumerism, and the pursuit of happiness. What defined the 1960s counterculture and the hippie movement? The 1960s counterculture and the hippie movement were characterized by a rejection of mainstream values, embrace of nonconformity, and advocacy for peace, love, and social change. Hippies sought to create alternative lifestyles based on communal living, artistic expression, and spiritual exploration. What were the main influences on the emergence of the hippie movement? The hippie movement was influenced by a variety of factors, including the Beat Generation writers, Eastern philosophy, psychedelic experiences, and opposition to the Vietnam War. These influences shaped hippie ideals of individual freedom, creativity, and social justice. How did music contribute to the hippie movement and the 1960s counterculture? Music played a central role in the hippie movement and the counterculture of the 1960s. Psychedelic rock bands like the Beatles, Jefferson Airplane, and Jimi Hendrix provided a soundtrack to the era, reflecting themes of liberation, experimentation, and spiritual awakening. What were some of the key practices and beliefs of the hippie movement? Hippies embraced practices such as communal living, environmentalism, and back-to-the-land ethos. They believed in living simply, rejecting materialism and seeking harmony with nature. Hippies also advocated for peace, love, and nonviolence as guiding principles. What was the legacy of the 1960s counterculture and the hippie movement? The legacy of the counterculture and the hippie movement is far-reaching, influencing attitudes toward authority, consumerism, and social justice. Their ideals of peace, love, and freedom continue to inspire movements for environmentalism, civil rights, and cultural expression. Like the video, and remember to subscribe to our channel.